spray foam. Can you guys use this stuff at all?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's just the gloves and the shirt that I can throw in the trash if I need to, okay, because I'm careless, right? And I always have acetone and it's open. Because acetone will dissolve it when it's wet. Matter of fact, you can clean the straws out with, right? Usually, this is a can that's been used. Usually I can clean the straw out. And then I pour some in here and dump it out. Usually the can will be good the next time I go to use it. All right, so it's wire screen. This is aluminum, steel, doesn't matter, but you want, right? You can imagine the nylon screen's not going to work. You can't shape it. You can't make it hold a shape or anything. So the key in applying the foam, and usually you're doing a bigger area, but you can see it's very small rows, right? And usually, you know, I'm doing a big enough area that by the time I come over here, the first bit started to dry a little bit and hold the shape. You want to make sure it's on the screen because you want it to go in the screen, right? You want to penetrate the screen, right? Have good strength. This stuff is very strong. I've moved it between houses. John Miner's dying to tell everybody. He's dying for me to move again so I can tell everybody he knows somebody that's moved a layout 3 times and not finished it. But I've moved this stuff and it's been perfect at the new location. I've stood on it. That's also not that I'm that big a guy, but I can stand on it. So it's just doing, probably went through this whole thing, but it's just doing small rows because it's going to expand, right? So that's right, and it'll hold the shape. By the time we're done here today, this will probably be half cured, and it'll keep expanding. Right, so we're gonna not spend a lot of time on that because it's unless you guys want to see me do it. You guys want to see me do the whole thing? I got to do the whole thing at some point because it'll be for the next show, right? The next clinic I do. Because these guys, Glenn saw me, you know, what I did this on a video.
Yeah.
I didn't do this, but I did a presentation.
I thought I had seen something.
Yeah.
I don't remember where it was.
Right. And then people see it. And who's doing the clinics for the national?
You are.
No, I mean, who was the chairman for that? Tom, right. So yeah, so I live in Concord, so it's easy. So I'll if you want me to do this in Concord too, I can do this in Concord. Because I'm not going to open up my layout because my wife doesn't want people walking to the front. As she says it. Wait, they're just model railroaders. She's like, yeah.
That's well,
Strangers. She's like, no, they're strangers. So
If you want to encourage her a little bit, though, one of the things with an NMRA convention or a regional convention, it's not like a tour de troops or something. You don't get, you know, hundreds of people that visit because they're all like already model railroaders and stuff. So
right, yeah.
it helps.
All right.
If
So
that can help persuade her.
we'll see. We'll see how far along I am. My layout's fairly small, right, Chuck? Fairly tight in there. Now, through the magic of television, we happen to have one already done. Right. For those of you that see, remember the old cooking shows? It would always be like that, right? They'd go, the magic of television. We have the dish already done. So, what I use at this point, 3 favorite tools. This is just a hacksaw blade on a handle. I used to hold them like this, but if you've ever done that, it's not fun. Right, and this is, you know, you can see what this looks like. You know, this one got away from me in a few areas. On your layout, it's a little bit easier because you're not worried about it going over the edge. But the other benefit I noticed the other night was with this, I have more room for.
You don't use a hot knife?
And the reason I don't use a hot knife, you could. I don't know how toxic this stuff is for the hot knife, right? They tell you when you're using 2-inch foam, which I don't use as a base because I don't like the sound of it. I use homosome. Matter of fact, I have a module that I take to the shows. It was originally with foam, and you'd hear the train go from the homoso onto the foam. You'd be like, "Oh, that sounds horrible." And so I rebuilt it with homoso. But you could use a hot knife, but I don't because my wife, I'll often get, "Are you using chemicals in the basement?" She could be 2 stories up, and I'll get a text, "Are you using chemicals down there?" So you can imagine if I used a hot knife.
You'd be looking for an apartment?
Maybe, yeah, yeah. Or, well. But a hot knife would be, this step would be less messy.
What about a drill?
You can use anything. I'm showing you. This is, I'm gonna show you what I do, but it's a basic. Here, at this point, we're just shaping, right? We're just, so whatever tool you want to use, however you want to do it. I don't actually like how this one came out, but. Try not to cut into the screen, right?
If you do cut in screen, do you have a process of repair?
You can. It's kind of becomes. What have you done and. What do you really need to do, right? So. Right, so if I do that, that's probably gonna be fine. Right, because our next step will. Cover it up. Or. If there's times when if I saw this kind of. Thing show up in the middle and it was on my layout, I might respray it with foam and come back the next day. Because it's a little bit bigger than what I want.
So you can add foam and it will adhere to what's already.
Oh, yeah, it'll stick to anything. And I mean,
Hence the
It
close.
does.
anything, yes. It'll stick to absolutely anything.
How long do you let that cure from, from when you sprayed it to when you can work it?
24 hours. I think it tells you. But generally 24 hours, probably usually longer, because you could, by the time I come back to it, cures in 8 hours, they say. Temperature affects the curing time. This is the messy part. This is essentially a cheese grater. But and this is what we refer to at home as the extremely loud vacuum. I love Ryobi products, but this thing is loud, so I apologize. Fire in my basement. Now, I'm surprised that nobody's asked me this question yet. Why would I do this? Right? This isn't the cheapest method of doing scenery. I feel like it allows me, like I said, it's very strong, right? If you ever if you've ever experienced having to get to somewhere that's hard to reach on your layout and you leaned on your scenery and something cracked, this is not gonna crack. Right? I can probably, let's see if I pull an Elon Musk. No, I'm standing on it. That's fine, right? Remember when he threw the ball at the truck? I only remember that because I passed one of them on the way up. So what I like to do at this point, and this falls in the same category of, Joe, why would you use joint compound? Because usually, if you have one of these at home for repairs, how much do you ever use up at the top? Half of it, maybe, got to go dry, right? So that goes small rarity, and I add some paint to it to get it wet again. And I've been adding paint to this, and I've been adding. Usually like to have more water around this, but the sink in the bathroom was like. I held the bucket. It was like I had to do this. I had to go get it on and get a splash.
Toilet bowl.
Huh?
Toilet bowl.
Toilet bowl. Yeah, could have done that, but I was home maybe, right? So, and so the other thing, I feel like maybe this doesn't bring it out as much, but when you're home on your layout and you're doing big, because I've done some big areas, and I apologize, I meant to bring some pictures on a stick to put up. I feel like you can do more customizing. So I just did a quick, right, with the cheese grater thing, right? And carving it and cutting it. You can do a lot with foam. Your base, see, that's already starting to set up. You can get your base from your screen, and then you can really do a lot with foam. You can really shape a lot with foam. And then chunks in it. Well, this is really, and you can use. I use joint compound, and like I said, I use it because it's essentially free, which is the same reason that my layout is made from 2x4s, not 1x4s. My sister had built a house, and she had a bunch of leftover wood, 2x12s, 2x10s, 2x8s. We went down there with drove my father-in-law's truck down there. We cut them all into 2x4s. So you get a bunch of 2x4s, you get a whole bunch of 2x2s. And it's free wood. So I'm gonna build my layout out of this. And if you know what, when you cut 2x4s out of wood like that and you have two sawn edges, they stay really nice and straight. So a lot of my layout, the underpinnings are pretty much overkill. 2x4s, 3/4 inch plywood, home soap. And then when the dehumidifier died, I have a bridge that you couldn't even shut. So I will say this is my first time using the paint mixed in the joint compound. I'm pretty happy with it. You know, you do now. This takes a little longer to dry, right? Thick joint compound, and it's going to shrink and it's going to crack. But by using the paint, just like I've been, when I do plaster molds, so I buy this gray plaster, India ink, and these are from the beginning of my last gold molding session, but I end up adding more and more India ink to get these because if it chips, it's not white. And so then you can take these, put a couple pre-molded rocks in there, or real rocks, or whatever you want to use, and they stick. So again, through the magic of television. My wife will laugh. I've been dying to say that. So this I did last night. It's mostly dry. One of the other things, and I don't know, I often ask myself, I don't understand. Because I've never done the shell type of thing. You could use hydrocal as well, right? Whatever you have for a molding substance. But one of the things that I like with this is that I want to stick a tree in. It stays. Or, I like to, at this stage, you can also you can put your ground foam on if you want on the wet paint. Right? It's not all gonna stay, but sometimes I'll do this. Or when it's dry, just paint it. That's how I always do my first coat of ground cover, just on paint. And I feel like I'm cheating a little bit, but I get a good base and then come back with more and wet water and paint and stuff, so. But that's all there is to it.
Is there any material that hasn't worked with with the phone?
Such as,
Plaster, I don't know.
I haven't had anything not work with it. Right now, I'm working on a scale. Anybody familiar with the Newbury cot? In Newbury, New Hampshire. I modeled the Concord and Claremont. Yes, I said it backwards intentionally. It's not the Claremont and Concord, it's the Concord and Claremont in my basement. Anyway, I'm modeling that cot, all right, and it's foam, and I'm taking these and I'm hot gluing a whole bunch of them on the inside of it. It looks like a canal, right? And it turned out I have enough room to do it to scale. It's the only thing scenery wise on the layout that's to scale, right? Which is just kind of weird to say, right? How many things do you do that are actually to scale other than buildings? But to do scenery to scale. And that's based off of a couple hiking, rock climbing websites, because I figure those guys know the dimensions better than other people that think they know the dimensions. And now I'm faced with, I don't know how I'm going to paint the rocks. Right? Because I put them all in like this, right? And I got this much room. And I don't, right? So now I'm like, but you're also like, you don't have to really paint the side. You only have to paint the side you see. Right? So I think I'm just going to do some spray paint and then touch up highlights.
And pastels.
Huh?
And pastels on the sponge.
Right, yes, so that, yep, that'll work too. I haven't gotten there other than to say, I have to think about this a little bit, so. Yeah, I mean, any questions?
How far does a can of the spray foam go?
I would say if I had what you're looking at, probably you had this and it was this long. Yes.
So it sounds like the one downside is the cost.
Yeah, the spray, if I see it on sale, I buy a couple cans, right? So that kind of thing. The screen, I mean, I was out of screen, so I had to buy some for this. But I bought a 48 by 72 roll for $10. And I used a foot of it. So the screen goes really far. The cans of foam, like, yeah, that's probably the biggest cost difference. This, like I said, to me, this is free because I stole it from my house. If I was just a homeowner, I'd be throwing this away. Because you can look at this, it's got chunks in it, but that would be the only cost.
Have you used the blue styrofoam layers and carved and?
I have not. I think when I was getting that, so anybody, I think this is the funniest thing. You know where I learned this? I had a clinic like this in Westbrook 25 years ago. I'm pretty sure that's where I learned it, because I don't remember any other. I was just getting back into marketing, and I've only done this. I haven't done the blue or the pink foam. For that kind of, for scenery. I imagine it would act the same, but have you seen the price of that stuff lately? I'd actually say this is cheaper than that. It's not cheaper than doing, if you're doing shell with cardboard lattice, it's not gonna be cheaper than that. But, it's sheets of foam are like $50+ for a 4x8 sheet. And we're Concord Rail Club, we're rebuilding our layout right now. And we decided to make we've gone through a few iterations of modules. And we say check the current layout is the oldest style, the oldest and the heaviest with foam. And it's, how old do you think it is? 20 years old? Those modules?
Not quite, because I think they, when they did the foam layout, they.
Pulling away from the outer edges, the pink foam. So apparently the pink foam shrinks over time.
It does
Is
in
it-
our cases, yeah.
Yeah, it outgasses.
Is it painted?
Spell intro.
Are the edges painted?
No,
Because
Just the
UV
top.
light will destroy the foam.
Yeah.
Given enough time, so.
Yeah.
If it's bare, that could be.
that could be it too, right? Yeah.
The other thing I found out is I had made a little module that I used to bring to the library for adult education. And I had used the pink foam. And, you remove the legs when you're moving it around. And I put the legs, and the foam is not very strong. When you try to push a piece of wood or something through it, you'll break the pink foam.
Oh, it breaks, yeah.
Support almost nothing. So that,
Yeah.
unless you put wooden supports in the corner or something like that.
We had one iteration of our modules that club members were doing that was very, very light. The problem was you take two of them out of your car and you'd walk into the show like this and bang the living shit out of them.
Yeah.
Right? With the ones we have now, it's 1x4. It's 1x4 outer edge with a homoso masonite top. They're heavy, but they're heavy enough that you want to carry them with two people or only carry one at a time.
Yeah.
So it makes you be more careful with it. So in that case, too light is a problem because you bang it around.
The other thing I found.
Not to poo pink foam, but
Yeah, the other thing I remember when we were building the museum layout, we had used a combination of shell and pink foam, blue foam, that we had some left over. But I remember bringing some expanded foam because I had insulated my garage,
yeah,
around the doors, and the stuff expands like crazy where you were just explaining, so you put it in your joints around the garage door, and it expanded so much that I actually sliced that off, and you can take the chunks and glue it into your scenery. You know what I mean? The scrap pieces.
Yeah, like these.
If it's big enough, you can.
Yeah, I did. And when you talk about how far it can goes too, right? When if you let it expand more, you probably get a lot further too. But I like to see how this is drying up now, right? I did a little bit better job than I did with that one, is keeping the small rows. And keeping the small rows just makes it take its shape. And this is all going through the back pretty well. So.
If you just need a small space, do it without the screen.
I have done it without the screen, yes. Like you just said, it depends on, I have a hill that's probably about that tall and that long, that is just foam. Or you could put, you could put anything under it. You could put balled up newspaper under it if you wanted to, right? It just needs to hold it up until it starts to set, and then it can hold its own weight. So.
Is it affected by alcohol or something afterwards, or?
When it's dry, I don't think so.
I don't think so, because I remember getting some on the shirt and forget about getting it off.
Then the acid.
Yeah. Yeah, see, the acid one's not. See, there's two straws that had it in it, they're clean now, right?
once it dries, nothing really affects it.
Nothing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why make sure I wear a shirt. I've had this apron for a while, you can see, right? This is, I bought this initially so that like I come home from work and I want to go downstairs and work on a model for a little bit. I don't want to have to go change,
Yeah.
right? So I bought an apron.
I have some shirts with hard patches in them, so I know.
So
It lasts forever.
matter of fact, when I was making up these two, I got a little tiny bit on a shirt that I had. And it's over here on the back of the arm.
So how do you blend in that rock casting?
How do I blend it in?
You had to use plaster, to use sculptamold or something like
Well,
that?
yeah, it's not too bad right now. But I usually try and blend it in when I do this. When I'm putting it in there, right? Yeah, because see, like that side's really bad. But that's I would try.
So you just keep using more of the.
Yeah, I use more of it. Maybe use my finger and get in there, but you get Sculptamold works just as well. I don't know what the price difference is with Sculptamold.
So much cleaner though, that's one good thing.
Yeah. I've actually never used Sculptamold, so I can't really speak to it.
It's really just paper mache.
It doesn't stay sticky like the other stuff, it's almost like you can sculpt it.
Yeah.
And it
Oh,
washes
okay.
off your fingers, which is nice,
Oh, okay.
and it doesn't dry instantly like plaster.
Yeah.
So, you got a little bit of working time, but the
This
nice
will-
thing is
this-
you wet your fingers or whatever, you can like work it all you want.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't make a mess. That's the good thing about it. So when you can tint it with paint and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
Joe, have you used a spackle to do little fill in edges or fill in gaps, or is your?
What do you mean by spackle?
Spackle is less liquid.
This is only liquidy because I mix paint in it.
yeah, it's the same stuff.
It's the same stuff, right?
You can probably talk about the smaller
Yeah.
tubs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quick
fine-
dry, the
vinyl-
quicker dry.
Yeah.
Repair spackle.
The sheet rock compound,
Yeah.
it remains water soluble. If you put spackle
Yes.
on something and it's dry,
Yeah.
water doesn't affect it.
Well, it doesn't affect it.
But this
But
stuff
once you
is
put-
always.
It's
water
slightly different, yeah.
always-
Right. But once you put once you paint it,
You're
right.
done, you're done.
you're done,
The
right?
joint compound remains water soluble.
Not after you paint it.
Oh, no, before
Right,
you paint it,
before you paint
but you
it,
can
right.
let it sit for 2 years and it's still water soluble.
Depends on how dry the room is, right? So. Yeah, I'm curious to see. This is, like I said, this is an experiment that I'm hoping works. I did this last night, so this has only been setting for probably 18 hours, maybe. It's still really cold, so I can tell there's still a bit of moisture content in it. So. But I don't, for me, it's usually one weekend I'm doing spray foam, one weekend I'm carving it and making a blade mass, and then the next weekend I'm doing this kind of stuff. So I don't, not like waiting for it to dry, right? But you can try it, I'm hoping this is gonna work out fine because I do have a spot on my layout that I use white, and it's got a couple. If anything right, if anything touches it, if you chip through the foam scenery, you're gonna see little bits of white, and then you gotta go and try and vacuum them out without vacuuming up half the scenery. You don't want to spray more glue down because now those pieces are gonna get glued in, right? So so I'm hoping this works. The rocks have worked out well doing the India ink.